Coupes, a rare sight in the mainstream traffic of today. Over the last decade, the popularity of fast, cheap coupes has dropped and been taken over by SUVs and people carriers, polluting the air and taking up all our parking spaces. But that hasn't stopped the range of manufacturers bringing out their own sporty pocket rockets. But now, there's a new kid on the block. Its name? Puma. Ford Puma.
This is the Ford Puma. I'm Buster Cherry. Welcome to Full Throttle. Puma rather reminds me of the design suede shoe my son asked me for when he was going through the cool phase when he was 13. I am informed, however, that Puma is actually named after a slender, agile cat. Rather reminds me of my wife back in her heyday.
This is Ford's latest attempt at a compact coupe for the mass market. To the naked eye, it's got a smooth body, but come over the rear end and it's creased. The space between the body and the wheels make the Puma look a bit top-heavy, rather like my son's plus-sized girlfriend in high heels. However, it remains a sporty and attractive pussycat.
So what's it like? Well, there's not much to report from here. The interior is a little bit silver. And this golf ball gear knob is about as cold as your mother-in-law. Luckily, however, it's more cooperative than your mother-in-law, which we'll get to later. The whole interior is lifted out of a Ford Fiesta, and I mean everything is. But that's not such a bad thing, as if I give a tug on this knob over here, as you can see, it's very hard and robust and remains in position. There's plenty of places for me to store my nuts. It's just a shame I've only got one sack. Time to now slot myself into the back, which can sometimes be a hard affair, especially in a coupe like this. Once you are in the back, however, it is a tight squeeze. And don't think about spreading out, especially if you've got company, otherwise you won't get free abreast in the back of this Puma. Boot space in the Puma really isn't an awful lot. I mean, you can fit some stuff in here, and of course the seats do flop down, but who in their right mind are going to want to fold the seats down in a car like this? Unless, of course, you're carrying a dog. I mean, some people do like it in the back end. Driving the Puma, it is just brilliant. It doesn't feel like you're driving it. The handling more resembles one of my wife's broomsticks. Whichever direction you point it in, this Puma just shoots off uncontrollably, leaving passengers you have left frothing at the mouth. On top of all that, it's actually quite comfortable. In a cheap car, pleasure and titillation like this is very hard to come by. The Puma is set to put a smile on the faces of many. But what about the young people? To find out, I went to the local recreation park, or the Rec, to talk to some youths.
Keeping things wicked, man, and at one with his girlfriend Shaniqua, it's Chris Flange.
So, Chris Flange, what do you think of the Ford Puma? And I don't mean the training...
Well, this is actually sick, man. I'm on the telly, innit? Hey, yo, mum!
Yep, back to the car, please, Chris. What's your first impressions of the Ford Puma?
Well, it's wicked, innit? You know, I could drive round, blasting my tunes, pick my girl Shaniqua up. Hey, yo, Buster, what's the top speed on this sick whip, man?
Right, okay.
Studying animal husbandry is Raymond Bentley, the only Ray in the village.
So, Ray Bentley, what do you think of the Ford Puma? And I don't mean the...
Oh, I think it's rad, but there's limited space for me and other men too.
Yeah, that's the equality box ticked. Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
All that and a bag of chips, so he thinks. An aspiring mechanic but currently head of tins and cans in Quick Save, it's Jack Goff.
So, Jack Goff, what do you think of the Ford Puma? And I don't mean the training shoe.
Yes, I know. Well, actually, the Ford Puma isn't a new car as you state, Buster, because its underpinnings are actually from the Mark IV Fiesta, so I think you'll find you're effectively wrong. If what you're asking is if I like what's basically the shopping trolley that is the Fiesta, with a more powerful and a mangled body on top, then the answer is no. You know, for someone to actually say that they like this car is an insult on themselves, really. Hang on, haven't you got one of these on order, Buster?
Yes.
And rightly so, Jack Goff. Top speed, 130 miles an hour. 0 to 60, 8 seconds. You don't get that in a Ford Fiesta. It's also Insurance Group 12, gets 40 to the gallon, and has driver and passenger airbags.
So to sum up, the Puma is a brilliant, practical, fast, well-handling, and frankly amazing car. Ignore everything the youths say because they know nothing. Join me next week on Full Throttle for the Over 65's Bay Park Bonanza. Until then, I've been Buster Cherry, unless my wife's watching because she calls me Daddy.